Hey, how are you today? You are hanging with Langan. I am Maureen Langan. You know that. You guys, I have a great guest, but before I bring her on, I want to do a little bit of business. I want to be able to see your comments because I'm new to the StreamYard. And in order to see your comments, I can see them, but to see who from whom they are coming and your beautiful little profile photo, I need you to go to streamyard.com, just / Facebook. Click the blue button, give me permission to see you. I don't sell your information. So it's streamyard.com / Facebook, and then I get to see who I'm talking with, and I love that. I am so excited. I have a new sponsor beginning today. So happy. Silverstream Limousine. I want to get all of the details right because I love this company. I know the founder and CEO of this company, Robert Miller. It's Silver Streak. I think I said Silver Stream. It's Silver Streak because I'm on the StreamYard. Silver Streak Limousine. They're based in Englewood, New Jersey. And they will pick you up, drop you off at all the tri-state area airports, Newark, JFK, LaGuardia. I'm sure they go up to Stewart Airport, whatever you need, Westchester, Teterboro. There's a lot of airports in the tri-state area, the New York, New Jersey, tri-state area. But what I love about this is it's, of course, not just to the airport. Robert Miller, who, again, owns Silver Streak, they do hourly services, chaperone services for minors. They'll make sure your child gets to where they need to go safely. Trust me, I know them very well. They will be safe with Robert. Dogs picked up and transported. We love the dogs. And right now, I think this is a really great service. They do concierge services. They'll run your errands for you. They're 100% trustable and trustworthy, rather. And, maybe you want to go with them and they run in and get your errands. Whatever you need, they're there for you. And I want to bring up their, here we go. There it is. You can get 10% off with HWL or Hanging with Langan or say Mo sent you, 201-679-8808. Again, Silver Streak Limousine. And thank you so much, Robert Miller, for sponsoring Hanging with Langan. Okay. And one other thing, you guys, you've been digging the store. I got the masks, the Don't Make Me Hate You masks, t-shirts, clocks, onesies, t-shirts for everybody, coasters. So again, molangan.com store. And I'm just like a shameless plugger, but I want you to know that. And so you can go there or PayPal to support me or Venmo, Mo Langan. Thanks a million, you guys. So now, without further ado, very excited to introduce my guest. I began in comedy with her many years ago, and I'm so proud of her because she's gone from, yes, she's funny, but she was a sidekick on Don Imus's radio show. We're going to get the dirt on that. She is now a nationally acclaimed public speaker, Stanford University, all around the country. I've been watching her trajectory, and it's just like, boom. And she is out with a book. I'm just going to put the cover up. I'm just a big build up. You can be perfect or you can be happy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hanging with Langan, Karith Foster.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you. You made my day. The second comic in a row that made my day.
I am very proud of you. Now, we seem to be on a little bit of an audio delay. Talk to me.
No. Can you hear me now?
Yep, everything's good. Just a bit of a delay.
Okay.
So excited you're with me. Your book, congratulations. It just came out.
Now it is out. It is out. Well, actually, so Amazon kind of had its way with me and did not treat me to dinner. And they told my team that it hadn't been, the manuscript hadn't been loaded for pre-orders for Kindle. And so it was supposed to be released on May 31st, yesterday. And it basically, they're like, oh, we don't have it. So we're canceling it. So they canceled everybody who pre-ordered it and then realized it was their fault. They couldn't correct it in time. So now it is back up on Amazon for a new, so you can get either the Kindle version or you can get the physical book. But it will be released on June 12th. So yes.
Well, wonderful.
June 12th. It all worked out in the end. It just was a little hiccup. And, one of those things in life. You can be perfect or you can be happy. And it wasn't a perfect situation, but I'm happy that we got it out of the way, that hiccup, and now we're smooth sailing.
So, Karith, you sent me the first chapter, the opening chapter of your book. And I got to tell you, you put it out there. You really open up like a sandwich that wasn't wrapped properly. Really, I was like, good for her, because I want you to tell people what the book is about and what precipitated you writing this, because it's deep. It's not like, oh, be perfect or be happy. There's like a real depth to this.
Well, and that's what I wanted. I wanted this to be a real book that people could go to, not just because they wanted to feel better about themselves or their lives, but because they needed it. And, I feel like this book, I've said it before, it's almost like a note to self, because so many things that I wrote about are things I need to be reminded of regularly. Because I'm a recovering perfectionist. I am somebody who spent a good part of my life trying to be perfect. Whether it was because it was part of my environment from childhood. I grew up in a very affluent suburb where it was not about what you felt or, was what was going on inside. It was how you looked on the outside. And it was not just for the kids, it was for the parents too. It also was not very diverse. So for, most of the time I was the only Black person of color in my classes. And that really kind of ran all the way up through even college. My first year of college, I was the only Black person in my dorm.
Really?
There were yeah, really.
Wow.
And that was my normal. We're right now talking a lot about diversity and inclusion, and everybody comes from their own place of normal.
Right.
And that was my normal for a while, but that's also why I think I just yearned for New York and a metropolitan city, where what was so funny when I got to New York, it totally took me by surprise, because I grew up in Texas and I'm actually kind of back here now for a bit, but people are like, what are you? They'd ask me what I was. I go, what do you mean? What am I?
Where? In New York or?
In New York. Yeah, in New York. What are you? I go, and the question threw me off. I go, what do you mean? I go, I'm a girl. Like, I didn't know. And they were like, well, are you Dominican? Are you Egyptian? Are you Puerto Rican? Like, what are you? Like, what was my ethnic makeup? And I'm such a mutt. I mean, I'm such a Heinz 57. Listen, my mother's maiden name is Doherty. That's okay, because it's none of my passwords. Don't get more Irish than that.
Wow.
My last name is Foster. I'm West Indian, Cherokee, Blackfoot, little Puerto Rican Jew. Like, I'm
wow.
People are like, what are you? I didn't know what to say. I'm like, I'm just Black. Like, that's what we say in Texas.
Well, you know what, Karith Foster, my friend, and I remember when we would, you were so funny, you had a bit in your comedy act about going to auditions and people having a certain expectation because of the color of your skin. You know the bit I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Tell that bit, it cracks me up.
Oh, sure. So, the hardest part about, I think, having this voice and looking the way I do is people don't expect it to come out still to this day. And it cost me a lot of jobs, but I would go for these auditions, and the best ones were the voiceovers, where they'd want me to sound Blacker, but because we're in the age of being politically correct, they couldn't say that. So instead of that, can you jazz it up a little? And I one time, like, so you want me to scat? Like, I didn't even make the connection.
You want
like, no, what we're going for is an urban sound. Can you do that? I'm like, oh, I get it. I'm like, no, I'm suburban. I can do a suburban for you. Will that work?
But it's interesting, the fact that just because they look at you, they decide that you're going to have an urban voice.
Right. Well, that's the world we live in. We like to put people in boxes. We like to give them labels, and we all do it. Part of it is, when I lecture on diversity and inclusion, which is a big part of my speaking, I don't want to shame anybody for it, because it's something we all do. We just need to catch ourselves in the act, because what we risk is losing out on relationships and opportunities and experiences by thinking somebody should fit what we've been maybe told by society or by our family, or just had some misconceptions about. So
I was out hiking. I'm out during the virus with a Sicilian who's in California. I escaped New York, where I live, and I love New York. And I was hiking yesterday, and I was talking. Somebody had seen my one-person show, Daughter of a Garbage Man, and my dad's from the South Bronx. What are you talking? And he, get out of here, So somebody goes, oh, does everybody back east speak that way? I go, are you listening to me? I don't know. Do we? I mean, come on, But people have. You talk about Karith Foster's book. Please stand by. Maureen Langan has really great technology. Her book is You Can Be Perfect or You Can Be Happy. But you talk about growing up in Plano, Texas, where there is that stereotype of the South, where ma darling, and people look beautiful.
Right.
That's, again, what do I know? But I grew up in northern New Jersey.
which is where my parents are from, Jersey.
Where?
Camden, South Jersey. Camden.
Philadelphia. We don't count that as Jersey.
Okay.
I'm joking. So what I wanted to say to you, though, is there's a real serious, and you talk about this in your first chapter of the book. I would love for you to go there. You talk about the underbelly of people just putting, there's the dark side to just putting on, as my mother would call airs, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, it's not really something that I talked about in comedy at all, which is interesting because usually you talk about your pain points. And maybe I talk about the root of the pain points, which was not fitting in or feeling like I belonged. But in addition to that, I was a severe asthmatic. I was on a lot of medication that really messed me up. Prednisone, which is a pig hormone. But
it's a pig hormone.
Back then, if you had asthma and severe allergies, it kept you alive, you know? Today, I have some after side effects, you know, premature osteoporosis, because that's what it did. But they didn't know back then. You know, they didn't know about essential oils. They didn't know about necessarily, it wasn't common knowledge. You know, it's still not super common. But so what ended up happening is, you know, emotionally, psychologically, just all of the pressure from everything that was just in my environment. I went to my parents one day. I said, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I didn't say I wanted to kill myself, but I remember saying, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
You mean you didn't want to do this and not be on the drugs? You didn't want to feel the way you were feeling anymore?
Absolutely.
Because it messed with your head that much?
Oh, yeah.
Karith. Wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it made me gain, like, I have a picture of me from my my first passport. And I was on the prednisone, and it looks like a sumo wrestler. My face is so swollen. My eyes are so, like, they're little slits. I look like a sumo wrestler.
Oh,
and it, you know, and then it's like throwing being a teenager on top of it. Like, who wants to go back and do that again? Nobody.
Got time for that. Okay.
So yeah, so I said, I need help. And I asked, you know, and my parents were like, okay, we'll help you. And I ended up, you know, speaking to a therapist who recommended that I, you know, go into an adolescent, like, psychiatric facility, which I did. And I was so grateful. And here's the thing about that. I get there, and I'm glad I had the experience, primarily because I realized in the end how good my life was. I was the only person there who wasn't going to AA meetings, CB meetings, chemical dependency, SA meetings, sexual assault. Like, I would be sitting there sometimes by myself in, like, the main area because everybody else was going to these special meetings. And I'm like, holy shit, I was just upset because I was fat and, like, you know, and just didn't feel right. But it gave me such a place of gratitude and grounding. And, you know, I was dealing with some bullying on the side of, I transferred schools to be with more Black students because I thought, oh, this is where I'll fit in. This is, you know, I'll finally feel like I belong. So I left my friends, my security, you know, student council positions, popular stuff, to go to the school on the other side where there are more Black students. And that was the first time in my life I had people who were mean to me. And these were the people who were supposed to be embracing me. And I just remember being devastated by that. So it was a culmination of all these things that once I kind of was able to step back and look at it, it made me realize that no longer was I going to let anyone dictate how I was supposed to feel about myself.
Wow, that's really strong for a teenager.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get there. Wow. Did you?
I just knew it's going to be a pattern for so many more years in my life, from, you know, being in the entertainment industry, working with Imus. You know,
let me get to that. Yeah, you worked with Imus when he called. I'm gonna say the words. He called the Rutgers women's basketball players nappy-headed hoes. Right? I believe that was what he called.
I refer to that as Nappygate. Yes.
Nappygate. Okay. And I'm very into using the strength of words because that's what he said. And that was powerful.
It is what he said. Absolutely.
Painfully powerful. So then is that when you tell us that story about how you got involved with Imus?
That was so wild. Talk about, like, premonition. The day that story broke, I was in Camden. My uncle had passed and we were at his funeral. I remember I was laying in my grandmother's bed watching the news. And it was all over. I mean, it was like media shitstorm, right? When a celebrity said, like, back then when a celebrity said something wrong and there wasn't a lot going on, slow news day. And I remember thinking, God, I should have been there. You know, we could have talked about this because I understood enough as a comic to know that when you're riffing, like you're practicing, you're trying to throw something out there that you think is going to stick, that's going to be funny. And if you really do go back and listen to tape, and not in his defense, but if you listen, those weren't his original words. He parroted his producer, who originally called them, he said, those are some hardcore hoes. And then Don was like, yeah, them are some nappy-headed hoes. Like, this man was so old and so white. I don't even think he had 3 friends, let alone any black friends. He did not know what he was saying. Okay?
Yeah.
Not that that's an excuse, okay? But the worst part was, it was just really inappropriate. But the fact that innocent young women got thrust into a spotlight they did not ask for.
And calling them hoes, like just hoes.
He didn't even know what that word meant. He just thought it's vernacular. You know what I mean?
Come on.
It's part of his regular link. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that just wasn't who he was.
Right.
And here's the thing. He said way worse on purpose. That wasn't intentional. Trust me, as awful as he was, I don't think he would hurt children. And that's one of the things he said. Oh. You know, he said, children are off limits. And they were, when we would talk about, you know, politicians and celebrities and this and the other, that was his one rule.
Like even the producer to go after young women in college as hoes, just to begin that and then take it to nappy headed. But hoes, like, you know, why do we think it's okay to call women bitches, sluts, hoes, you know, or even now in politics, strident, you know, nasty, you know, it's enough. But I'm talking to Karith Foster. Let's just do a little commercial break and then talk more about Karith's book. I'm really proud of her. It's just out and it'll be fully out June 12th is what you're saying, right? Yes. On Amazon. And you can go to her website, Karith.com. Yeah, Karith.com.
Karith Foster will lead you there, but Karith.com is.
You can be perfect or you can be happy. And she's really, it's really honest. Look at her life growing up and then moving on into ways that you can help yourself. Basics. There's things under each letter that empower you. So Imus, what was it like to work with him, Karith Foster?
Oh, wow. First year was amazing. I was the golden child. I could do nothing wrong. You know, he was there to redeem himself. And part of why I even took the job, to be honest, because he was, let's face it, one of the most reviled men in the media at the time. Yeah. And I was risking a lot. I mean, I was risking personal safety. But I remember thinking, if I don't do this, someone else will, and they may not be as responsible with this position. Because I saw it as an opportunity to have a national platform, because he said he wanted to have a national dialogue about race. But I saw this as my chance to be like the anti-stereotype of what we see of Black women in the media. You know, this was pre-Shonda Rhimes, pre-Viola Davis, pre-Kerry Washington. Not that those 3 make up the whole, but you know what I mean? Like there wasn't. Oprah was her regular afternoon show. She hadn't started OWN yet. So I'm like, this is my chance to reach an audience who probably never interacted with anybody like me on this personal level, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Because sometimes, you know, I just brought that up. You watch commercials and they always have a type, you know, heavy set woman with the attitude, you know. Okay, I didn't finish my commercial. I'm so sorry. If you have comments, please put them out here. We're happy to see them. And if you want to go to StreamYard, StreamYard.com/Facebook and just click the blue button. I'll be able to see who you are when you comment, or I look at my phone and play tennis like this. My commercial, I want to thank my new sponsor. So excited to have him on board with me. His company is called Silver Streak Limousine, right there. Robert Miller, the owner, founder of Silver Streak Limousine. They're located in Englewood, New Jersey, to and from the airports, serving the New York, New Jersey tri-state area. Concierge services. Want to run your errands? They're so trustable. Need a child, minor, to be escorted to and from? I'm telling you, you're in the best of hands with him. Hourly services. So 10% off if you say Hangin' with Langan or HWL or Mo sent you. And there you have it, 201-679-8808. And if you want to support me, how can you do that? Okay, I'll tell you. You can go to my store, which is molangan.com/store. Get all the Don't Make Me Hate You items, coasters, t-shirts, masks. I'm sorry I have the allergies. Forgive me. They're all there. And okay, what if you don't want anything? You don't want to buy a t-shirt? That's okay. You can just support the show by making a donation to paypal.me /Mo Langan or Venmo at molangan.com. I just appreciate the support because I'm bringing you a show Monday through Friday, and this is now my job. You know, this is what I do. I bring the journalist and the comic to me, and I bring you great guests like Karith Foster. Okay, Karith, I want to hear about your best and worst gigs.
Oh, sure. What do you want to hear first?
I like the best because then it's
the best would include you, and you didn't know this. This is my surprise for you.
I didn't know this.
I actually talk about it in the book.
You do?
I do.
I only read the first chapter. Okay.
It's a book, and it's in the section about kindness.
Really?
And I thought about it the other day because when you had Vinnie Mark on, he and Jody Weiner,
two comics,
would produce these shows. And one of the shows that Jody would produce was called Ladies Let Loose. And we would do that at the Pax Amicus Theater,
New Jersey.
New Jersey. It was so cool. During the day, it was like a children's theater where they'd have puppet shows and whatever. And then in the evenings, we would do stand up there. And I love that it was, they couldn't drink, like people didn't drink alcohol. They were just there for a natural high. And it was a show. It was you, me, Sherry Davy, and Leanne Lord on the show. It was a great show. Like the audience, like they loved it. It was great. And afterwards, I can't remember who left. I think Sherry had to leave early. Maybe it was Leanne, but it was you were definitely there with me. And everybody's coming up after the show. Oh, you guys were amazing. You're so wonderful. You're so funny. And it was just, and we're lapping it up because that's part of our, our pay.
Come on, tell us more.
And this woman beelines to us, and she instantly just kind of, it shockingly says to us, "My son was killed 6 months ago." And we just kind of stopped. And she goes, "This was the first time I've laughed since." And she gave us like this group. I was in the middle. I remember it because she kissed me on the forehead and she gave us this group hug. And we were all like in tears because it was just she showed such kindness to share that with us. But there's also such validation of all of the shit gigs we've had, all the not getting paid, all the open mics, all the, not going to medical school, choosing to be a comic.
Law school. My father, she could have been a lawyer.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember that just such a beautiful moment, an exchange of kindness. Like we were able to give her something and then she gave us something back.
I've had that happen too. I mean, I was with you there, but I've had that happen like at the Borgata in Atlantic City. A woman come up to me. She was, "My husband passed away a few months ago and this is my first night out." And you think that means something because that's their first night out. That's that's really cool. And that's why too, even if there's 10 people in the audience, you treat them like there's 1,000 because those 10 people are there and they matter.
Absolutely.
And I learned that, and then we'll get to your worst gig. I remember Marcy Phillips, she's a talent agent for
I remember Marcy.
And I took an acting class with her. I'm not an actress, but that's not my forte, but at all. But she says she was telling the class, and we worked all the city clubs. Stand Up New York was one we worked a lot.
Yeah.
And she was saying that she was giving us tools and insight. And she said that a young man had kept sending her postcards, "Come see my show," and kept sending her emails and invites. But he didn't know what she looked like. He just knew she was a talent agent. She shows up. It's late. There's about a handful of people in the audience, and he craps all over them. He's ripping them apart, like, "I'm better than this. Oh, look at this."
Right.
And she said he blew it. She never brought him in.
I'm sure.
That was a real lesson to treat everybody in that audience. Okay, I'm talking with Karith Foster, Francois Gordon. She's such a great gal. She follows the show every day. Imus didn't know what he was saying. He was just so old and so unaware. He was just using contemporary buzzwords to feel relevant. I see what Karith is saying. All right. Well, so she agrees with you.
I really believe that. Trust me, he was not a nice person, but I do believe that. And I believe when we're riffing, we're trying to be funny. Like you can't always practice that privately.
Okay, before we get to your worst gig, I want to know what we didn't get to what Imus, why he was so awful to you, or awful in general.
So I did a TED Talk about this, and basically, I think he just got comfortable. First of all, he was incredibly insecure, which is unfortunate because here you have this amazing, successful career. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was an addict, and admittedly, a dry drunk. So he wasn't using, but he still had the manic episodes because he never went through the 12 steps or any program.
The elevator, not the steps, right?
Right. So you just never knew who you were going to get. And I do talk about this in the book. Like it was, are we going to get this amazing, talented, fun, great person or, his evil twin? And it was like always like walking, like my anxiety level were through the roof, like every day. You just didn't know what you were going to get. And so, I couldn't do stand up at night because I had to be up at 4 a.m. to go on, morning radio.
You do morning
radio.
I
lost that aspect of my life. It was so hard. And he just he got comfortable and he wanted me to do and say things that I wouldn't do. He wanted me to basically be the voice he couldn't be. And, there was another comic on the show who was really talented. This Black guy, Tony Powell, very, very funny. Mm-hmm. And he would have him impersonate Charlie Rangel. But to me, and no offense to Tony, but it kind of sounded like a Step and Fetch It voice. And I was like, I am not participating in that.
What kind of voice?
Step and Fetch It.
Step and what? Fetch it?
Step and Fetch It. Yeah, that's like like the old like blackface. Like yes, no, yes, master. That kind of. Oh. Yeah, very uncomfortable. Exactly.
Oh. So who asked you to do that? Like play a stereotype of a black.
Yeah. And I couldn't do it. And I wouldn't do it. And he got mad at me and actually said on multiple occasions, you know what, Karith, you're too nice and you don't make enough fun of black people. I'm like, so that's why you hired me. Okay.
It's bad to hear that.
He tried to get me to quit. He couldn't fire me because he couldn't fire the cute black girl. He was her ass, right?
Use it.
He did everything in his power to make me quit. I mean, everything in his power. I don't know if do you know Janice Dean she's on Fox. She's a chief meteorologist over on Fox News. Oh, and she and I have become friends because we had similar experiences. I saw her on The View talking about working with him and what he did to her. Let me just say, this is how bad he was. She begged Roger Ailes for a job to get away from Imus.
Oh, okay? Wow.
So that's, you know what I mean? Like that's who she, and she's the loveliest, kindest human being you would ever meet. But that's just how, you know what I mean? He was just toxic. And I refused to let him see me cry. I refused to quit. And he, in turn, made my life a living hell.
So how long did you eventually quit them, right?
I quit for 2 out of the 3 years of my contract. So this is the crazy part of all this, right? I remember thinking, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. And if I do, I'm going to end up in Bellevue. But I'm like, I can't go to Bellevue. Where else can I go? I'm like, Bali. Like, if I'm spending that kind of money, I'm going somewhere nice, So I treat myself to a trip to Bali. And I get there. I almost die because of a horrible asthma attack. And I have this dream while I'm there. I have a lot of dreams. Anyway, in my dream, we're sitting cross-legged from each other, me and Imus, and he kisses me. And I was like, oh, no tongue, thank God. And he goes, I want to let you know I'm gonna let you go. So you don't have to do this. You don't have to go through this anymore. This was my dream. And I come back to the States. 2 days later, he calls me and is like, listen, it's not working out. I'm gonna let you out of your contract early. I'll still pay you for the rain route of this year. So all I could think of was just thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you. I didn't even care that I was going to lose another year.
Yes.
I didn't know if I could live another year. I didn't know if I could do it. Now, here's the crazy part. What I didn't know, because you just don't. I'm like, oh, he just got tired of. He didn't get tired of torturing me. He got the radio show put on Fox Business News. And he didn't want to have to pay me out of the Fox Business News money.
Oh, because you would have been getting paid a lot more dough. Wow. Somebody, Linda says, forgive me that I don't know this. Step and Fetch It was the stage name of a black actor who performed in a lot of movies in the 30s and 40s. All right, Maureen Langan just learned something. Okay. All right, so my guest, Karith Foster, comic, now a writer, a humorist, and a really, really renowned, respected national public speaker. I'm going to do another promo of your book here. And then let people know
they can hear about my worst gig.
Oh, that wasn't it?
No.
Let me show you your book.
No, that was my longest running worst gig. My worst comedy show gig. Oh, wait.
All right, here it is. Your book, Perfect. You Can Be Perfect or You Can Be Happy, Karith Foster. Just out. It's just coming out right now. Okay.
I'll make this quick because I know you want to keep it tight, but this is just a crazy story. So I'd already done Showtime at the Apollo and actually killed it there, which is shocking because you think, okay, are Black people from Harlem really going to like me from Plano? Killed it. Did a great job. So I'm thinking, okay, if I can do that, I can do anything, right? Like I got anything covered now. So I get booked to do Jamie Foxx's Laugh-A-Palooza for Comedy Central down in Atlanta.
Love him.
Now, what I did not know is that there are two sides to Atlanta. There's like the Cosby Show, Huxtable, bougie Atlanta, and there's Pootie Tang Atlanta. Well, Pootie Tang Atlanta showed up that night. Are you okay? We're at the American Airlines Center. Thousands of people. Sadly, Jamie Foxx's grandmother, who'd raised him, was on her deathbed.
Oh, boy.
So he had to leave the taping. He was only there the first night. He had to leave the taping to go be with her. They brought in Earthquake to fill in for him, which was fine. Earthquake was great. But the audience is first pissed that Jamie's not there. Then, because it's Earthquake and not Jamie, Earthquake goes out there doing his thing, and he would go out in between acts, but there was a ridiculously long pause before we could come up to the stage. So the momentum was lost, you know.
Yeah, you got to keep it moving, folks, when you're a comic. You got to keep
it. You got to keep it. So I get on stage, I open my mouth, and I was there, like, this is me. Like, it was my hair. I had it straight, cute little outfit. I opened my mouth, and they just stared. They just stared at me. They didn't even boo. I think I got 2 laughs in 4 minutes. I was supposed to do 8 to 10 minutes. They gave me the night at 5 minutes. Devastated. I'm devastated. So I get off the stage. I'm like, if I could have burst into flame on stage, those people wouldn't have been happier.
Oh, no.
That would have made the show for them. So I get off stage, and it wasn't like it was just Comedy Central. There's somebody else filming. So it was like another film crew, and they're following me back to the green room. I'm like, this was when I really was going to kill myself. So I get back to the, I'm crying so hard. My mascara is running down. You know, that 4-year-old, like, you're like, like you can't even catch your breath. And my cousins had been there at the show. And this girl who kind of adopted, she's like, hey, there's somebody at the door who wants to see. I'm like, no, I can't see. I'm thinking it's my cousins. It wasn't even my cousins. Like, they had to leave in disgrace.
Wow, they stepped out. Like,
because I think you really need to see these people. So I'm like, fine, whatever. So I clean up a little bit. And she opens a door, and it's these 2 Black guys and 2 white guys, gay as the day is long. And they were like, you were fabulous. Aww. We absolutely loved you.
Oh, that's great, right?
That was my audience, but it was thousands. I mean, I didn't bomb, I think, after that for like another 5 years. It was such a major bombing because it was thousands of people, television crew. Like, it wasn't just like a bad night at the Chuckle Hut. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no, because you had all this opportunity to really shine, and they weren't there for you. The audience.
I was so mad.
And if Jamie was there, he would have set the tone for you, is what you're saying, probably more so than Earthquake.
Well, I don't even know that, but it just was like fuel to the fire for them to be pissed off and angry, an angry crowd. You know who was there and killed it though?
Who?
Nell and Joe Coy. That's when I became friends with them.
Somebody had to kill it. I wish it were you. Karith Foster is my friend. I just want to give another shout out, you guys. This week, I have great guests, of course, in addition to Karith. Tomorrow, I have Harris Stanton and Keith Price. Come on, we love them. Wow. We're doing some champagne bubbles. We're talking bubbles with the wine minx, sommelier, Annie Egerton, with comics Bernadette Pauly and Al Ducharme. Thursday, we have the Professor Peter Bales. We delve back into history. He's a PhD and a comic. And Friday, I have the owner of comedy clubs, Broadway Comedy Club and Greenwich Comedy Club in New York City, where you and I worked a ton. Al Martin. And I think that you guys are going to love this because so many comics have come through Al's clubs. If it weren't for Al, I don't think I would be as strong a comic, I humbly say. And it's going to I also share some tips of what makes a great comic. And I think the comics out there are going to love it, or those who go, hey, how do you do it? So just let you guys know before I let Karith go, if you want to support my show, please go to my store. Don't Make Me Hate You. Products galore, tons of them. Shower curtains. It's insane. I can't. Coasters, T-shirts of all types, masks. The masks are really big. People are digging the Don't Make Me Hate You masks. And if you are so inclined, please go to paypal.me/Mo Langan or Venmo @Mo Langan. Just, chuck $1 or 100 or 1,000. It's up to you. I don't want to control you. Got to give a big shout out to my my sponsor this week. So happy that he came on board, and just a great guy, Robert Miller. He is the owner and founder of Silver Streak Limousine service. I know I'm doing all my tech. I'm learning all this, you guys. I'm doing the best I can. Robert Miller, Silver Streak Limousine, serving the New York City, New Jersey, tri-state area. You say Hanging with Langan or Mo Sent Me or HWL, he'll give you 10% off. He'll transport dogs, minors, take you to and from the airports, do concierge services, running your errands for you, particularly during this time. It's great. But of course, last but not least, you can be perfect or you can be happy. You're killing me. You can be perfect, you can be happy. Karith Foster is the author of that. And again, it's releasing fully in all forms, hardcover, Kindle on
June 12th.
June 12th. And people can get it where?
Amazon.com.
And it's Karith Foster. And you guys, she sent me the first chapter. This is good. This isn't a superficial book. This has depth and heart and tips. And she's killing it around the country doing her public speaking.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's a fun book too. Like,
oh, it's fun.
I feel like if Grant Cardone and Oprah had a baby, it would be me.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, kind of like that. Little in your face, but with compassion.
Tons of compassion and fun and deep, and I love it. So listen, I'm going to read the whole thing once it comes out. I only got the first chapter. Karith Foster, thank you for being here. And you guys, thank you for being here. You've been tuning in a lot. People have been really supportive. Keep it coming. I post all these shows will continue to be posted on my Hanging with Langan page on Facebook. And every day, Monday through Friday, 3:00 Eastern time, you have a show right here for you. And it continues to be up there. And I also posted it on the YouTube, as my mother would say. Karith, much continued success, sweetheart.
My love. I love you.
I love you, honey. All right, you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bye.